Hid for a few weeks before it came to me. I had to choose my heart, heal and get free. She said life's easy, pain comes with living. Surround myself with everything God's given. It's time to change my routine, create a new scene that feels like an unreachable dream.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully we are all enjoying this fall weather so far as the season has officially changed. I'm excited for it. This is Mentally How Are You? And I am your host, Neena Lock, here to discuss all things mental healing. Today we will continue to focus on suicide prevention and explore resources for this specific concern. As a reminder, if you or anyone you know has been struggling with suicidal thoughts or thoughts of self-harm, please call 988 and be connected to a counselor who will provide immediate assistance to you. Also, if you are triggered by this conversation in this episode, please call 988 or talk with a trusted source to discuss what triggered you and why. One very important tool many people develop in counseling is a safety plan. Those struggling with suicidal thoughts or just a crisis altogether would benefit from a crisis safety plan. Today, I would like to review how to form a safety plan and implement one into your lifestyle. A crisis safety plan is a set of written instructions, meaning notes saved on your phone or written out on paper that is easily accessible. In my personal opinion, I think that they should be written out on paper. You can add it to your phone as well, but I think it would be a good idea to have it in your face where you could pick it up or somebody else can go and grab it for you. Sometimes our phones die out. Sometimes we break phones and we can't see the screen. And technology, even though it's our friend, can sometimes mess up. So it would be better to have it written out on a piece of paper that someone can easily grab for you. This will serve as a guide when you're having suicidal thoughts or a mental health crisis emerges. Creating this plan when you are in a good frame of mind is highly recommended, as it will help you when things seem hopeless or overwhelming. And you may be unable to think clearly or rational when having a crisis, so it would be difficult to form a plan then. So it's better for you to form it while you're feeling okay, you're feeling great, maybe come together with loved ones and form this plan. And what I'm going to do is take you through the steps and the things that you absolutely need in a safety plan. Before I do, I want to let you all know that you can add other things to this, but the categories that I'm going to give you, these are specific and I'll say they're necessary to have. Like, you must have these things that I'm going to say, and then whatever else you want to add on to it, it's up to you, whatever makes sense that will help you in a moment of crises or having suicidal thoughts. So, the first thing to focus on when safety planning is to understand your own warning signs. Identifying changes in thoughts, behaviors, and emotions that aren't characteristics of your typical self is very important. This may require an exploration of self to better understand you. For many, this means speaking with a counselor to go on a kind of self-exploration journey so that you can become aware of when a shift occurs for you. Now, let me say this for this part. This self-exploration is very important. This is one of the main reasons you go to counseling and therapy. It's not to get fixed or to have somebody give you all the answers, but it's so that you can identify more with you, with who you are. In counseling and therapy, this is where you kind of take off the armor or the cloak of your parents and grandparents, friends, and past relationships, things that we just kind of build up and allow to become us that really is not us. So it's very important for you to speak with someone and go over who you really are, what you actually like, what's triggers for you, what bothers you, what agitates you. Be specific with your wording. By example, I just said what bothers you instead of saying what triggers you, so I came back to it. Be specific with what agitates me, what makes me sleepy, what makes me feel sad, what makes me feel longing, right? Desire. What vision do I have, or do I lack vision? These are things that you would explore in therapy, which is why we highly recommend therapy. But for some, if you feel like you know just a little bit of it, pay close attention for safety planning to your warning signs. Like, do I get easily agitated when these specific topics come up? Let's say it's body image. If body image comes up, if somebody's talking about their body, then these are signs to pay attention to. So know your warning signs. Knowing them will help you be proactive rather than reactive. Ask yourself questions like, am I less active? Am I having more racing thoughts? Do I feel easily agitated or anxious? The bottom line is to identify what changes for you when you are not in a healthy mental space. The next step will be to determine coping strategies that will help for the shift you are experiencing. Now, what coping skills can you actually use to take your mind off of what is going on? This could look like taking a walk, writing out your thoughts, actively listening to music, extra time for yourself to do something special that you enjoy, or to practice self-care. Use techniques such as deep breathing or practice structured mindfulness exercises, like ones provided in our toolbox technique segment. The bottom line here is that you want to actually develop coping skills that work for you. So by example, for me, music is a big coping skill, whether it be writing, singing, just being in an atmosphere where music is being played or there's a live band. That's an actual coping skill for me. I would go and I would use that if I were triggered in any way or not feeling my best or my greatest. But something that doesn't speak to me is, let's say, going and watching a full basketball game or playing basketball. Playing basketball is not going to be a coping skill for me. It will be an idea that somebody could give to me, and I could consider it, but I know that that would not help take my mind off of things. Let's say if I was suffering with racing thoughts, I would still have racing thoughts if I tried to go out and play basketball. But I would not still experience racing thoughts if I gave myself over to music and I allowed myself to be engaged with it because it speaks to me. So when you're developing coping mechanisms, it has to be something that you can actually use that will be helpful for you. Yes, it's okay to try out new things. That's how we develop new coping skills. But it's very important when you're creating a safety plan to be sure to add things that make sense for who you are, for what works for you, okay? Now, whatever it may be sure it's not something generic, right? So kind of like what I'm saying, you have to make sure that it's an active use for you. What I have found is that many times people add coping skills to a list that they had never tried or things that would never help them calm down, and then that doesn't work out for them. So again, coping skills that work for you. Now, another vital portion of safety planning is identifying your support. What I'm asking everyone to do is form a list of at least 3 to 5 people you can speak to in a time of need. Write out their numbers, not just their names. So don't just give a list of names or don't just think in your head like, oh, I could contact this person or that person. Again, write these things out. Write their names out. What if something happens to your phone? What if something happens to a tablet? Write out the number because now, we used to remember numbers, but now we don't. So write out the numbers if you don't remember the numbers, because this safety plan is not just for you to grab and use, but someone may need to help you. There may be someone by your side that needs to help. And if you can say, go and grab this paper, this is my safety plan, then they'll be able to look at it and say, okay, let's call mom. Let's call this aunt of yours that you say can help you. And the number's right there for them to see. So write out their names and their numbers. Now, I realize that it may be hard to talk about suicidal feelings, and your friends and family may not understand why you feel like you do, but reach out anyway. Use these numbers, even if you don't specifically talk about the thoughts you are having. Call and just make sure somebody can be a distraction for you. Make sure that they can give you some form of conversation, or make sure it's someone that you know will say, hey, you don't sound like yourself. You want me to come over, or do you want me to pick you up, or you want to come over here? Whatever it may be, use someone that you can really depend on and speak to that person anyway, despite what you may be feeling in the moment, because our feelings and emotions can deceive us in these times. Knowing that somebody is there when you need them can be comforting. So you may also want to get encouragement from your place of worship. Some use support groups or other community resources, especially if you feel you don't have 5 people to add to a contact list. This is not unfamiliar. Sometimes I speak with clients or patients and they don't have 5 people legitimately that they can think of. Maybe they don't come from a big family, or they didn't engage with a lot of people to create a lot of friends, so they don't have 5 people to list. However, they may have outside sources that they never thought about. So, like I said, a worship center, a community center. Some people make friends in a gym, like have somebody that you can attach to that will say, hey, you want to come work out with me? Or, you know what, I don't know what to say in this moment, but like I said, we can go and work out together. And then that could be helpful to you as well. But the bottom line is to make sure your list is full to 3 to 5 people. I'm saying 3, but I highly and always recommend 5. You need 5 people, because what if someone's busy? What if someone can't get to their phone? What if their device is destroyed or messed up, right? You need to be able to call the next person. So 5 people is a more stable number. And if you have more than 5, then congratulations. I'm thankful for you. I'm glad that that's the case. Add them. Add individuals who you know will help you. Lastly, form a list of professional agencies you can contact when everything else fails. This list can include your mental health team's emergency line, which every mental health team normally has an emergency line, national resources such as the 988 crisis hotlines, and online resources such as the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Again, it would be wise to have 3 to 5 of these resources listed and written out. It's very important that you have 3 to 5 and you write them out, full name, full number. A safety plan can prevent or manage a crisis, and most importantly, it can help save your life. It provides a good visual reminder of your warning signs, your coping strategies, your support system, and professional agencies and emergency services that would be required in this time of need. Today, rather than discuss pop psych versus clinical psychology, I would like to focus on the heaviest portion of suicide prevention, and that is being a survivor of a loved one who completed suicide. This is why I'm wearing purple today. Purple is the color that is worn to honor those who we no longer have because of this condition and this situation. So I want to speak to those families who maybe lost someone. Family and friends who have lost someone to suicide are often referred to as survivors because you are the survivor for your loved one. Survivors are left with a void and overwhelming feelings at times, such as lacking understanding or even what could I have done, right? Like that question lingers a lot of times where I hear families ask, what could I have done differently? What should I have paid attention to? These are the things that I want to speak to today. Then we can come to moments such as, birthdays of the person we lost, holidays, and other milestones that can be difficult for survivors because they conjure up intense memories and emotions about their loved ones. At times, you may not remember these milestones are near, but your body will react to what it was once used to, and your mood can shift. I definitely recommend survivors seeking therapy for themselves, rather than it be, individually as a family or through a support group. The bottom line is seek therapy because this is a difficult time. Losing someone is already a struggle, and to lose someone in this way creates a shift in our body and our mind and makeup that we were not prepared for, nor could we ever be. So speaking with a counselor or a therapist should be the next step for every survivor after, things are concluded for their loved one. For those who are supporting someone through a loss via suicide, please remember to keep in touch. One of the toughest stages or parts of grieving is when the services and ceremonies are complete. This is when silence is the loudest and sorrow forms a deeper wound for individuals. So this is that time where after we have a funeral service or we honor someone, everybody's gathered around, everybody's there. And once everybody leaves, then this is where survivors struggle the most because there's not someone right at their side or speaking to them or telling them it's going to be okay. It's just you, and you're left with these thoughts, these feelings, and questions like what I said earlier with what could I have done differently? When tragedy strikes, survivors hear most from their circles of family and friends shortly after the death. But then everyone else goes back to their regular scheduled lives. The survivors are left with a huge adjustment they have to make while processing emotions and feelings from the tragedy. That's why keeping in touch is so important. Check in with survivors. Send a card, I'm thinking of you card, an email or a text. pay a visit, or even, something I like to do and I find very helpful is to buy a meal for the family or hire or help with cleaning, since cooking and cleaning may be the last thing someone is thinking about while grieving. Just from personal experience, I can let people know that when you are grieving, you're not thinking about the daily necessities that you need to walk into, like making a meal or eating a meal, or cleaning your household, so that you don't feel cramped up and you're adding more to the emotion of grief with everything. So it would be very wise, very helpful to send forth, a plate to someone, or like I said, order pizza for the household, just so that that's one thing they don't have to worry about in a day. And I know some people, they'll text a person or they'll call a survivor and they'll say, hey, are you hungry? Do you want me to get you anything? Just know that sometimes the answer will be no, just because they don't want to feel like a burden to somebody else. So it would be more helpful to just do it. Just do it. Just buy the food, or like I said, hire someone to help clean their home. Or if you're willing to come over, depending on the relationship, and you're able to help out with cleaning, then do that. But do something to take care of those bare necessities that we need that can often go off and out of the mind when someone is grieving. Also remember to include the survivors in activities. So if you have frequently met for holiday events or sporting events, extend the invitation again or as normal. If they enjoy coffee or shopping trips, ask if they'd like to go with you. If the answer is no, accept it and don't push, but don't give up on them. The time will come when they say yes, because they will remember the door has been open and you are willing to support them. So every survivor, even if they say no, sometimes the answer could be, I don't feel like it right now, or, they may even say to you, you know what, can you just give me some space and some time? That is fine. Don't be offended. Don't try your best not to get upset. Give them space. Give them time. Like I said, accept the no, but don't give up. Keep coming back. If you give somebody a couple of days, send a little message, just thinking of you, just want you to know I'm here if you need me. Because in the desperate times that may come about, they'll remember, well, you know what? Neena was texting me and she kept checking in on me. So let me maybe reach out to her in this time where I need to talk. What we're trying to do here is make sure that survivors continue to survive and then move forward to living. We don't want for anyone to be so upset with the loss of a suicide that they then act in the same manner. So it's very important to check up on a survivor. And remember that it's different for survivors. Grief is grief for all of us. So if you lose someone, it's hurtful altogether. But there are certain forms and ways to lose someone that can be way more difficult to process than another situation. Just to give you an example, I would say somebody who we knew was ill for years, and was kind of going through, had their own personal struggle, and we lost that person. Of course, you're going to grieve that person, and that will be hurtful to any loved one, any friend, right? But it's very different to lose someone to, let's say, suicide or even a homicide, and then you have to process the why behind that. Over here we have where there was a condition, there was a disease that no one could control. Over here we are left with questions afterwards. So it's a different form of grieving. So survivors of someone who has completed suicide need your support. Don't give up on them. Check in with them. If it was somebody you never checked up on, begin to do it now. That is our pop psych versus clinical psychology for today, a little switch up for everybody. Moving on to mentally, how are you? I do have an email, and it states, Neena, it was a little difficult to watch the last episode, but it made my friends and I check in with each other throughout the week and talk about times we may have felt low or close to suicidal thoughts. So many of us revealed we have felt this way before. We are a group of about 6 to 7 people. We hang out a lot and go on trips together. We are in our upper 20s to low 30s, and we all grew up in Aurora. Is it weird that we can all say we felt this way before? And should we do more than just check in with each other? Firstly, the absolute answer is yes. You should do more than just check in with each other. This would be a perfect opportunity to join a support group, join a group therapy, speak with your family about the things that you're talking about. You said that you guys are a group of friends, meaning that you're coming together as friends talking about this experience. However, it may be some family ties connected to that as well. So I would say to extend the conversation to your family as well and ask them, has anybody ever felt this way? Even if you don't want to disclose how you felt, ask your family members about it. I don't think that it's weird at all that you have similar experiences. Sometimes that happens, right? Depending on where you grew up, this is kind of that nurture versus nature situation. Where you grew up, where you went to school, people that you hang around, you guys all experience the same life, the same lifestyle, the same events that occurred here in the city of Aurora, the same events that could occur, to those watching elsewhere where you live. But you all grew up, it sounds like, together, seeing, hearing, and knowing some of the same information. So it is not odd at all that you may have some of the same feelings when it comes to mental health concerns. So for that question, no, it's not weird. I think what's more important is that focus on the positivity of what you just did. The positivity of it is that you trusted each other enough to have this conversation. Although you watched the episode, which thank you, by the way, for watching the episode, and thank you for being honest about it being difficult to watch. Although it was difficult, you still went forward and had a conversation. So that trust that's there, that means that's high, it's important, and that's a great thing. If you guys can trust each other enough to have this type of conversation, then you should be able to go out together and, like I said, engage in a group therapy or even form some type of support group. Make it something positive where you pull other people in and say, hey, we've been talking about this. We watched this show and we got this information from it. I think it would be a good idea that if you had any of these feelings we are able to say we've had, you should come and join us and let's kind of just put everything out on the table. You can form activities from things like this where you have, a therapy circle and you have a group of people that come together and just talk and paint, talk and color, talk and hang out, right? Have a coffee group where you speak about your mental health concerns, and then you also just make sure that you're paying attention to the impact of others around you. So I think everything about this is positive. It is healthy. The one thing that I would be concerned about is how you wrap up these conversations. It's heavy to put out there, yes, I've been having these type of thoughts, right? Because one, it's difficult. This is normally something that people keep a secret. But when you push it forward, it makes it all the more real. So once you're wrapping up from this conversation, you need some type of healthy coping mechanism to go forward in. You need a healthy activity to complete as you move forward. And you need to be reminded of resources, like what the show does, of resources you can tap into for anybody that had a difficult conversation. So just to take what you said to me. You watched the episode. It was difficult to watch, but you guys were able to talk. There were also resources left in that episode. So if it was too difficult for any one person, or let's say the group, all of you knew you could dial 988, or I think I gave talk for that episode as well. So you all knew you could use that resource. You need to make sure that you have a resource that is left on the table once you have discussions like this. Because while you are defeating these thoughts by speaking about it and putting it out there, you also need to make sure that it doesn't linger with you afterwards. So it would be really good to hone in on the resources at the end of your conversation. Thank you for writing into us. Remember, to everybody else, if you have any questions about any mental health concern, you can always email us at mentallyhowareyu@gmail.com, and I will give you as much information as I possibly can. As you can see, I even get to the point where I'm talking myself through to make sure I don't leave anything out. So be sure to email us and ask your questions. Now, for those of you who are watching live, I also want for people to be sure to watch us on YouTube as well, so you can access the links of resources and support services available in our description. For this month, remember to call or text 988 anytime in the U.S. to connect with a trained counselor, or text TALK, TALK, to 741-741 to connect with a crisis counselor now. Remember that there are resources attached to the episode, so pay attention if you're on YouTube to click on those resources and speak to any one person, any one area that you would need to speak to. For your wellness in 60 seconds, what do I have for you today? Give me 1 second so that I can check and see what I have for you today. Let's see. Oh, I know what it is. Wellness in 60 seconds. What I want you to do is to create a distraction kit. Put together a box of items that you enjoy that can provide distraction as well as soothe you from thoughts and feelings coming from a mentally unhealthy place. Some ideas that you can include in this box would be pictures of loved ones that you have, your favorite places or animals that you like. You can add things like a stress ball, a fuzzy blanket, scented lotion. Sometimes we need things to activate our other senses, so like scented lotions. Some people like to be able to touch something, so like a smooth stone or what are those, the poppets, things like that. Like some people just need things that they can use throughout. But the bottom line is for you to add a bunch of items that you could use that you would need to help you or distract you. Some people may want to form a playlist and put that in the box. I know that we don't have like iPods and things like that anymore, but I say go for it. If you can find an old iPod or something that you used to use to put music on, if you just don't want to have it, on your regular phone and like Apple Music or something, or Spotify, if you want to switch it to something different and make it really fun and cool for yourself, find something that was old. I know there are some people that still have radios, they still have Walkman. Use that type of stuff. Put it in this box. And what you're doing is you're forming a box of distractions so that when you're in a crisis or you're having a moment where you just feel like you can't avoid overwhelming, ruminating thoughts, racing thoughts, where you can't avoid, flashbacks or just thoughts of things that are possibly just tormenting you. You can go to this box and this will serve as a distraction. I'm naming that you can get old technology, but you can also form a list of music that you want to hear. You can form a list of movies that you go to and that you like to watch that make you feel good. Add things like coloring books or those devotional books for some people are very positive and helpful. Things like positive affirmation. I've even seen sticky notes, which I used to give these out, and I'll have to find where I buy them so that I can add it to the episode, but I've even seen sticky notes that have positive affirmations for each day. So put something like that in there, motivational quotes, and any insight that you've learned in therapy. Let's say you've been in therapy before or you're currently in therapy and you maybe want to write out some coping skills that a therapist gave you and place it in the box. The bottom line is like I said, you're putting together kind of this toolkit that would go along with a crisis safety plan, because this can also be helpful for a plan as well. But put together this toolkit and make the box nice, fancy, pretty, cute, whatever would work for you, and place it in a visible space and use it when you don't feel your best. So whenever you're not feeling like you can go and grab this box. This can serve as a distraction. Like I said, it can remove certain thoughts. It can flush in positive thoughts, or it can just help you altogether with getting out of your own head. But the bottom line is your wellness in 60 seconds is to create this box, move forward with your day after using it, and hopefully that's a helpful tip. I want to thank everybody for joining in on this episode of Mentally How Are You? I am excited for next month. This is the official last Friday of September for us. So I'm excited because next month we're going to be celebrating World Mental Health Day. World Mental Health Day is October 10th. It actually lands on a Friday, so we will be filming the show on that day. However, we are promoting to everyone to share your mental health testimony for that day. Even if it's a small little snippet, send it into the show so that we can repost your testimony. Anybody who has went through something where there was a mental illness or just mental disturbance, but you went and you sought help, you sought therapy, you spoke with trusted individuals, and you've overcome what once had you down or you thought had you down, we are encouraging you to share your mental health testimony. We want to, take a positive spin for this World Mental Health Day and make sure that we show that there is a testimony afterwards. There are words to speak afterwards and say, hey, I thought mental health was important. I realized and recognized I had situations that were serious. I went and got help. And now I'm either completely healed. I've grown in these different ways. I'm still growing. You could even say I'm at the beginning of my journey, but now I'm understanding that it's a journey and I got to walk through it. Bottom line is we want you to share your mental health testimony with us, and we will repost them and spread them around so that people can see that there is help when it comes to mental illnesses and mental disease. I thank you guys for sitting with me on this episode. It is my hope, as always, that you are leaving more stable than when you came in, and I will see you all next Friday. Have a good one, everybody.
No judgment, just love, so I can be me. I'm tired of hearing it's okay not to be okay. Just want the dark days to go away. Mentally, how are you? How are you? Yeah, I know it's hard, but you can get well if you want to. Mentally, how are you? Yeah, I know it's hard, but you can get well if you want.